So here we have a video from Lynn Boyke and his School of Dog Psychology. Now I asked Lynn a question point blank on his Instagram, and we could have done this quietly on Instagram. We could have had this conversation on Instagram. You said you were willing, but no, you chose to flight away from the negative reinforcement that I am instead. What psychology are you pushing here? I need to understand this. Your people watching you need to understand this. This is not Ivan Pavlov. This is not B.F. Skinner. This is not Carl Jung. This is not Sigmund Freud. What kind of psychology are you pushing here? Because what you're doing right now, and I'm going to explain to people why, you are outright punishing this dog. And you're punishing the dog in the worst possible ways because you're taking away the capacity to fight and flight. And that's part of their base operant conditioning. Let's have a look at this video.
That's my phone. That's my phone. That's my phone. Nope.
When I see this, the first thing that comes to my mind is The Lion King, when the monkey's holding Simba up in front of the rest of the crowd to take him off, okay? This pisses me off. But he's calling this psychology. What Lynn is being right now is a negative reinforcement. He's actually generating the behaviors of fight and flight in this dog. And I'm going to explain this to you using 3 paragraphs from B.F. Skinner's book about behaviorism. Oh, he's putting on a great show. He's trying to control his breathing for the sake of the dog. Look at the dog. This dog is in full fight and flight. This dog is running hot on cortisol. This dog is running hot on adrenaline, which is causing the dog to fight and flight. And at some point, the dog's just going to sit there and shut down because that's all he can do.
Easy.
You see, the dog is trying to bite him. What is this solving? What kind of psychology is this? You're punishing the dog, Lynn.
No. No. No.
All the dog wants to do is run away. The dog is trying to flight. The dog is trying to fight. This is the dog's basic operant conditioning that Lynn is taking away. When you see trainers putting a dog in a muzzle, having a dog on a leash, they're preemptively punishing the dog. And they call this operant conditioning. They call this force free. They call this psychology. This is garbage. This is bullshit. Skinner will call you a liar, an abuser. Why are you shaking the dog? If I picked you up and held you up like that, if you picked up a human child and did that to a human child, what would you be doing to the child? Because the child is scared? The child is trying to get away from you? But yet people watch this and they go, oh my God, it's magic. You know, he's pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Again, Lynn, what psychology are you pushing? I asked you this on your post. Problem is, making shit up as you go along is not a response you're willing to give. Let's fast forward a little bit.
No.
As soon as the dog's paws touch the couch, he's lifting him up again. And look at the dog. The dog is just sitting there stubbornly doing nothing. Why are you shaking the dog? What psychology is this? Explain this to the people.
No.
The dog just wants to bite him and get away.
No.
The dog is in full fight or flight mode. And all I see is the cortisol levels and adrenaline levels going up. And that's the very chemicals that control your fight or flight response.
No.
The dog is just stubbornly doing nothing now, and I'm going to explain that to you. I'm going to read that word for word from Skinner's book.
No.
Now, people get to this point, oh my God, it's magic, he's pulling the rabbit out of the hat. That's all he's doing is pulling the rabbit out of the hat. Watch what happens. The dog still wants to bite him. Lynn can't see the dog's face. And you're lucky he didn't choose to bite right there. See the lip licking going on? The dog is stressed out, man. And people watch this going, ooh, ah, watch what happens. Oh yeah, pet the dog. Watch this.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah. Does that feel good? Does that feel good, Jane? Yeah.
The dog couldn't get out of there fast enough.
What do you think, girl? Gonna kick it now? Yeah, kick it with your buddy Tuxedo. All right.
But you see, this is the reality of what people are watching. People think they're watching a magician pull the rabbit out of a hat. Now let's get into the real psychology. Let's get into what B.F. Skinner would say about this, because all he's doing right now is punishment. Operant conditioning. If you get on Google once again and look up operant conditioning, you'll come back with probably B.F. Skinner's name, and it's a method of behavioral modification using reward and punishment. And that's exactly what Lynn is pushing. This is what he's calling psychology. Guess what? Operant conditioning in reality is about survival of the fittest and survival of the animal, survival of the species. A very different process through which a person comes to deal effectively with a new environment. New environments is everything new that you meet. You can only learn things once, okay? Many things in the environment, such as food, water, sexual contact, and escape from harm, are crucial for the survival of the individual and the species, and any behavior which produces them therefore has survival value. Guess what? The ability to fight and flight is a base part of your operant conditioning. It's a base positive reinforcement. Food, water, escape from harm, that's actually called flight. Fight and flight are crucial for the survival of the individual and the species, but yet Lynn is sitting there taking it away. He's not allowing the dog to fight and flight. Through the process of operant conditioning, behavior having this kind of consequence becomes more likely to occur. The problem is we're looking at the world through the wrong set of eyes. We're always looking at the world through the trainer's set of eyes, not the dog's eyes. Look at the world through your dog's eyes. It's supposed to be the positive and negative consequences of the dog's action that shapes their behaviors. The behavior is said to be strengthened by its consequences. Guess what? If a child reaches out and touches a hot stove, that negative consequence immediately becomes a negative reinforcement to teach the child to avoid the hot stove in the future. It's the consequences of the animal's actions, okay? And for that reason, consequences themselves are called reinforcers. Positive and negative reinforcers. Positive and negative reinforcements. Do you understand now? Positive reinforcement is not about reward and punishment. It's about your desires for the good things in life, for the food, the water, the shelter, the escape from harm. No animal wants to be able to held there and not be able to fight and flight. Let's get into punishment. Punishment is easily confused with negative reinforcement, sometimes called aversive control. Okay? When you take away an animal's positive reinforcement, you are punishing that animal. And that's exactly what Lynn is doing in the video. He's taking away the dog's ability to fight and flight. Now, at the same time, he's a negative reinforcement. Why? Because he's generating behaviors to fight and flight. He's generating those behaviors of fight and flight in the dog. Okay? Punishment is easily confused with negative reinforcement, sometimes called aversive control. The same stimuli are used, and negative reinforcement might be defined as punishment for not behaving, but punishment is designed to remove a behavior from a repertoire. That's exactly what Lynn is doing. He's trying to shut down behaviors, trying to stop behaviors, whereas negative reinforcement generates behaviors, and the dog is having the opposite effect, because Lynn himself is a negative reinforcement that's driving the behaviors to fight and flight. And it gets better. Punishing consistencies are just the reverse of reinforcing. When a person spanks a child or threatens to spank him because he's misbehaved, he's presenting a negative reinforcer rather than removing one. And the government finds an offender and puts him in prison. It's removing the positive reinforcer or a positive reinforcement, or a situation in which behavior may be positively reinforced rather than presented a negative one. Does that make sense to people? What he's doing is removing the dog's positive reinforcement. He's taking away that very operant conditioning, the ability to fight and flight. He's punishing the dog. Let's go on. If the effect were simply reversed, the effect of reinforcement, a great deal of behavior could be easily explained, but when a behavior is punished, various stimuli generated by the behavior or the occasion are conditioned to the responding pattern, and the punished behavior is then displaced by an incompatible behavior conditioned as escape or avoidance. Fight and flight. Flight part of fight and fight. A punished person remains inclined to behave in a punishable way. The dog in the video is still behaving in a punishable way, but he avoids punishment by doing something else instead, possibly doing nothing more than stubbornly doing nothing. And that's exactly what the dog did. The dog eventually tried to give up. You know what? He's just stand there up in the air, stubbornly doing nothing because he can't do anything else. But as soon as he gets a chance to flight, guess what? The dog is gone. And people cheer this on because they don't know. Again, one question, Lynn. What psychology are you pushing? Because you're making shit up as you go along, just like the rest of the trainers out there. Have a lovely day.